There are moments in your life when what stands between where you are and where you need to be is not prayer, is not fasting, is not even your intelligence, but a person, one man, one voice, one instruction, one handshake can change your story forever. But the tragedy of many destinies is not that God didn't send help, it's that help came and was pushed away, ignored, misjudged, or even dishonored. There are people praying for open doors, not knowing that the door is not wood and iron. It is a person you may have insulted, a person you may have overlooked, a person who didn't look like your prophecy, but carried your next level in their mouth. The realm of destiny is delicate. It's not enough to desire greatness. You must be trained to recognize the carriers of your answers, because destiny helpers don't always come announcing themselves. They don't wear labels. They come as conversations, interruptions, or inconveniences. And if you lack spiritual perception, you'll treat your divine connection like a distraction. Tonight, I want to open your eyes to a deep mystery, how to recognize your destiny helper before you push them away, because one wrong response can cost you 10 years. Destiny helpers are not ordinary men. They are not casual relationships or mere acquaintances. They are spiritual systems sent from heaven, clothed in human vessels to carry out divine assignments connected to your lifting, your preservation, your establishment. When God wants to accelerate your life, He does not always give you money or a promotion. He sends a man, and that man, whether he knows it or not, is carrying an instruction, a recommendation, a voice, or even an access code that will unlock the next season of your life. You see, the realm of the spirit is governed by laws, and one of those laws is the law of men. No man rises in isolation. The man you need is already alive, walking, breathing somewhere, and he has been instructed by God, often unconsciously, to favor you, to help you, to announce you. But the tragedy is this: if you do not have the eyes to see, the discernment to perceive, and the humility to engage, you can easily ignore, resist, or even fight the very vessel carrying your answer. Destiny helpers are often carriers of divine instruction. They may not even know the full weight of what they are doing. God can burden a person with a thought about you. He can cause someone to lose sleep until they help you. They may not be spiritual, but they are obedient in that moment to divine impulse. And if you have trained your spirit enough to recognize the voice behind the voice, the hand behind the hand, then you will be able to tell, this is not just a man talking to me. This is a messenger of destiny. A man can walk into your life and with one recommendation, shift your family out of poverty. A woman can speak one word that breaks confusion of your life forever. Someone can call your name in a meeting and that becomes the doorway to a new dimension. That is not chance. That is not luck. That is prophecy, walking in human flesh. But the problem is many people do not recognize instructions when they come in the body of men. God speaks, but He also sends. And every time He sends a destiny helper, there is a divine instruction tied to their arrival. The problem is not that destiny helpers are not around. The problem is that we have become carnal and distracted, unable to perceive that divine alignments don't always come looking like miracles. Sometimes they come as opportunities to serve. Sometimes they come as correction. Sometimes they come as a burden for someone else's vision. And within that vision, your own rising is hidden. If you don't discern the instruction within the interaction, you will treat your destiny helper as common. You will argue with their methods. You will despise their appearance. And you will postpone your breakthrough, not because God didn't answer your prayer, but because you rejected the vessel carrying His answer. The ways of God are higher than the ways of men. When you ask Him for help, He doesn't always send it in the shape that flatters your desire. He sends help wrapped in obedience,
And sometimes that obedience looks nothing like your expectation. Many people have prayed fervently, fasted, cried out for divine intervention, and when God answered, they pushed the answer away because it did not look like what they imagined. Destiny helpers don't always come dressed in elegance or introduced with titles. They come wrapped in simplicity, in weakness, in flaws, sometimes even in discomfort. The challenge with many is that they are too carnal to see the treasure hidden in the vessel. They are looking for a helper with status, with a polished tongue, with a suit and a platform, while ignoring the one God has planted beside them, who may be covered in dust, who may not speak with eloquence, but who carries a key that unlocks their next season. This is why many delay their own breakthrough, not because God is slow, but because they are blind to divine disguise. Help may come through a poor widow with prophetic insight. Help may come through a rude brother like Joseph's, who throws you in a pit, but initiates your journey to the palace. Help may come through a servant girl, like the one who directed Naaman to the prophet. If you are waiting for help to always come through kings and priests, you will ignore the shepherd boy who has been sent with oil in his hands. Your pride can blind you. Your definition of significance can make you dishonor the very moment that was meant to change your life. There are people who laughed at the simplicity of a voice, not knowing that voice was their announcement in the spirit. Some have rejected relationships because they didn't feel magical, not knowing that greatness often walks in unnoticed. Heaven does not always scream. Sometimes it whispers, and only the humble can hear. Do not let the wrapping deceive you. Do not let the simplicity of their presence cause you to trivialize the assignment they carry. If your eyes are not trained by the Spirit, you will treat holy things as common. You will walk with your helper and reduce them to nothing more than a neighbor, a friend or a colleague, never knowing that God had placed your answer in their hands. This is how many people extend seasons that were meant to be short. They pray for rain and reject a cloud because it's too small. They ask for a miracle and ignore the instruction because it didn't come with thunder. Learn this: God hides greatness in weakness. And until you see with the eyes of the Spirit, you will keep walking past doors calling them walls. The person you're overlooking might just be the one assigned to carry your lifting, your connection, your restoration. Spiritual discernment is not a luxury in the life of a believer. It is a necessity. The realm of destiny is too sensitive to be governed by emotions or assumptions. You don't choose destiny helpers by physical appearance or charisma. You discern them by the Spirit. There are moments in life when the only thing that will separate a breakthrough from a setback is the ability to hear the subtle whisper of the Spirit, saying, "This one I have sent." Without that capacity to perceive spiritual signals, you will walk past seasons, fight those sent to bless you, and align with those assigned to destroy you. Discernment is the eye of the Spirit. It is not suspicion. It is not intuition. It is the ability to accurately interpret the voice, the movement and the signature of God in a person, in a moment or in a conversation. Destiny helpers often come veiled. They come like any other person. They don't walk around with halos. They don't carry labels. But there is something about them, something your spirit must pick before your mind catches up. And if your spirit is not trained, you will reject what God packaged for your lifting. The challenge with many believers is that they have trained their minds but not their spirit. They are educated but not enlightened. They know how to calculate value in business, in politics, in relationships, but when it comes to spiritual alignment, they are blind. They judge destiny moments by emotions, by familiarity, by culture, and they miss out on divine connections. Because they do not know how to wait, how to watch, or how to discern. There are helpers that will offend your intellect. They won't speak your language. They won't dress like you. They may not even be aware of the full scope of their assignment. But the Spirit knows. And if you have trained your heart to listen beyond the surface, He will whisper, "Pay attention here. This connection is not ordinary. Handle this relationship with reverence." Many times your spirit will pick up something that your mind cannot explain. It may just be a sense of peace, or a holy discomfort that doesn't go away. That's not emotion, that's the Holy Spirit drawing your attention. Destiny helpers may be carriers of your next instruction. They may speak a word in passing that becomes the key that opens a door you've knocked on for years. But if you are not sensitive, you will say this is just conversation and miss a divine signal. There are moments when your discernment must be sharper than your intelligence. There are times when your future depends on your ability to interpret silence, to read the atmosphere, to perceive a prompting that interrupts your routine. The tragedy is that many have prayed for divine help, and God answered by sending men, but because those men didn't come through dramatic visions or angelic visitations, they were ignored. The Lord will not always shout. Sometimes he will just nudge, and only the discerning will notice. Honor is the atmosphere in which destiny helpers thrive. For when you recognize the vessel God sends to you, and treat them with reverence, you open yourself to the full weight of the instruction they carry. Imagine a precious seed, wrapped in a cracked pot. Unless you honor the fragility of the container, you will never appreciate the life within. In the same way, humility allows you to bow before the assignment, attached to a person, rather than insisting on your own agenda. When pride takes center stage, you will demand that every helper fit into the mold you have designed, and in doing so you will shut your eyes to the unique way God has chosen to advance. Humility whispers, I don't know everything, and instantly you become teachable, pliable, ready to receive correction, guidance, or connection. There is a story of a king who refused to bow to a lowly musician, only to discover years later that the same man carried the keys to an alliance that could have saved his kingdom. But pride had imprisoned opportunity. In your life, every person sent to you carries a song, a strategy, or a secret code that was written long before you were born, and honor unlocks the door. Without humility, you will challenge their motives, question their methods, and even despise their ministry, thinking that dignity demands distance. Yet dignity without humility is a hollow shell. The moment you choose to honor someone's presence, you are essentially telling heaven, I trust your wisdom in sending this one, and that trust activates the spiritual channels that release favor, provision, and divine connection. To honor is not merely to be polite, it is to recognize divinity in assignment, and to yield your rights to your own understanding. And as you yield, the helper's relevance shifts from acquaintance to instrument. Every conversation, every gesture, every prayer offered on your behalf becomes a building block in the foundation of your destiny. There are people who have mistaken their helper's lowly job description for insignificance, only to learn much later that those very hands were anointed to open doors of promotion. There are others who pushed away correction because it felt uncomfortable, unaware that discomfort is often the frame that holds the portrait of your future. True humility does not demand comfort, it demands submission. It says speak whatever you need to speak, even if it bruises the ego, because the bruising is simply the breaking of soil that allows seeds of purpose to germinate. If you refuse to honor the vessel, you deny the assignment. If you refuse to humble yourself, you forfeit the opportunity to partner with heaven in completing what you cannot achieve alone. There is a mystery in the way God tests men before he lifts them, and one of the greatest tests on the journey of destiny is the test of offense. Sometimes your destiny helper will be the very person that offends you, not because they are evil but because God allows offense to reveal what your heart truly honors. You must understand that divine relationships are not always wrapped in comfort. They stretch you, they confront you, they press into the areas of your life that are still resistant to growth. And if you are easily offended, you will abort prophetic alignments, because they didn't stroke your ego or feed your emotions. Offense is a strategy in the spirit. It's not just a feeling, it is a weapon that can disconnect you from people who are sent to carry you into your next level. The enemy knows that if he can get you to focus on how something was said instead of what was said, or how a person looked instead of what they carry, you will walk away from help disguised as a lesson. Many people are praying for favor, praying for access, praying for breakthrough, but they are too emotionally fragile to withstand the way help sometimes comes. Help may come through rebuke, help may come through silence, help may come through someone who does not speak your language of comfort. Will you still discern them? You can fast for 40 days, cry at the altar, and sow all the seeds, but if your heart cannot handle offense, you will keep rejecting the people God is sending to change your life. Offense is not always a sign that someone is wrong. Sometimes it is evidence that your pride is still alive. Sometimes the one who offends you today is the same one God has empowered to recommend you tomorrow. But because you couldn't endure correction, or a moment of misunderstanding, you walked away from an opportunity wrapped in discomfort. Every great man must be trained to look past offense and discern purpose. There are people who carry what you need, but they do not have the assignment to pamper you. They are not sent to be your friend, they are sent to be your ladder, and ladders are not always soft. They may tell you hard truths, they may not apologize in the tone you expect, but they are. And until you learn to see beyond the offense and into the assignment, you will keep delaying your own lifting. A generation that cannot endure offense is a generation that will keep postponing destiny, because God will keep allowing that test until you pass. Offense is like fire. It will either refine your discernment or expose your immaturity. And when the season comes that your helper shows up cloaked in that test, may you not fail. May you see beyond the vessel. May you recognize the oil, even when the hand that carries it doesn't shake yours gently. Because the moment you pass that test, the doors begin to open. Beloved, the journey of destiny is not a solo path. It is woven with voices, hands and hearts that God has positioned strategically to lift, guide and defend. But if you lack discernment, if pride sits on the throne of your heart, if you cannot endure discomfort or offense, you will keep rejecting what heaven designed for your rising. Destiny helpers are not always glamorous. They are not always familiar, but they are always significant. Recognize, honor them, discern them before you push them away, because what you're calling ordinary may be the bridge between prophecy and manifestation. God will always answer your prayer, but often his answers will come as men, and if you reject his men, you will delay his hand. Train your spirit, purify your heart, silence your assumptions, and let your eyes be open to see the treasures hidden in vessels around you. As you walk into your next season, may your eyes be sharpened, your heart be softened, and your spirit be aligned with divine signal. May the Lord cause you to recognize everyone sent to lift you. May you not dishonor your answer, miss your moment, or delay your breakthrough. I pray grace upon you, grace to discern, grace to submit, grace to walk boldly into what God has prepared for you. Thank you for lending your heart to this message. May the wisdom you have received today become a weapon in your hand tomorrow. Go and prosper, and may destiny helpers locate you swiftly. You are blessed.